When self-doubt comes up, do you see it as a problem or as a reason to stop? When you get those negative thoughts, when those come up, how do you react to them? And more importantly, how would you like to respond? You're listening to Pure Light, where we explore how you can believe in yourself and be happy with who you are so that you feel worthy of your craziest dreams and confident in your power to make them happen. My name is Ailey. I'm a coach, writer, and Kundalini yoga and meditation teacher. This is episode 90. So in the last episode, I talked about how you need to challenge the fear and doubt-based thoughts by making choices in a way that defies them, because otherwise you're feeding them by acting as if they're true. In this episode, I want to share a way of looking at those types of thoughts that has made it a lot easier for me. So this episode is basically a reframe on self-doubt and negative thoughts. And I want to share a story here to show this. So I do White Tantric a couple times a year. It's a day-long meditation workshop that you do with a partner, and it's part of the Kundalini yoga practice. The first time I ever did it was in 2013 in Toronto. And I was not in shape to do it at that point, like physically, mentally, or emotionally. Like I was actually quite weak and probably not even aware of how weak I was at that point. But I remember being there, and one of the practices was, so you're sitting on a yoga mat right across from your partner, and often you're looking into their eyes, but sometimes your eyes are closed. And there was this one meditation where you had to take your index finger and put it right between the eyebrows of your partner. So you basically had to hold your arm up for, I think it was 31 minutes. And because I was weak and I had never done it before and I didn't really know what to expect, I was really kind of freaking out about this because almost immediately, or like in a very short amount of time after putting my arm up, my arm felt really heavy and there were all these thoughts like, oh my God, like how am I going to get through this? I'm never going to be able to do this. You know, really negative thoughts and doubt about my ability to do it. And I think some of the thoughts were even things like, you know, my arm's going to fall off if I keep my arm up, which is completely ridiculous because I don't see how that could ever possibly happen from just holding your arm up. It would probably hurt, but I don't, you know. Anyway, so I did not make it through that meditation without dropping my arm multiple times. And each time I dropped it, it made it even harder to bring it back up. And I remember sitting there and like propping up my arm with my knee and doing all kinds of things just to kind of get through it as best I could. And, you know, that's where I was at that point in time. And since then, my ability to sit through meditation, and especially the physically demanding meditations, has really strengthened a lot. And last year, I was at White Tantric and the same meditation came up. And I remember being like, oh my God, this is my opportunity for a redo. Because I had always been wanting to redo that and try it again, especially since, you know, I had gotten used to the practice and comfortable with challenging myself physically and mentally and emotionally. Because there's all kinds of stuff that comes up when you're in White Tantric. So when they were giving the instructions for that practice, I felt really excited about it because I was like, here's my opportunity to see if I'm capable of doing this now. And I knew that I would have negative thoughts come up during this practice. Like I knew that there would be thoughts about like, oh, it's okay if you just drop your arm for a few seconds. It's not a big deal. Or, you know, thoughts about the pain and making it go away, or thoughts about, I don't know, just whatever, the same kinds of negative thoughts. And I knew to anticipate them. And because of that, I was able to welcome them when they came. And I was even able to welcome the physical discomfort associated with the meditation. And because I was anticipating that and able to welcome it, I managed to get through the meditation without dropping my arm. And I didn't need to do anything to prop it up or anything like that. And so it felt like a huge success in a lot of ways because I didn't cater to what my mind was telling me about giving up. So negative thoughts or thoughts like, I can't do that, are a form of self-doubt. And often when that comes up, we think it's a problem. We think it's a reason not to do something, or we think it's a reason to stop what we're doing. And we use that to rationalize our decisions. So that often sounds like, I can't do this because, or I need to do this because. But that's just one perspective or one way of looking at self-doubt and those negative thoughts. It's often the default perspective, especially when you're in the habit of looking at things that way. Self-doubt isn't necessarily a problem. It's only a problem when you think it is. Another way to look at it is not to see it as a problem, but to see it as proof that you're human. It's a sign of your humanity. It's a sign that your mind is trying to protect you. And when you look at it that way, instead of wanting it to not be there, you can expect it and you can even invite it in. You can welcome it. So when the thoughts come up that are based on doubt and fear, instead of having inner resistance to them, you can be okay with the fact that they're there. You can welcome them and still be at peace with what's going on inside you, instead of wishing it was different. Self-doubt and negative thoughts aren't a reflection of your capabilities. They're a reflection of what's going on in your mind. They're your mind's reaction to what's happening. The problem isn't the fact that you have the thoughts. It's the fact that you think you shouldn't have them. It's the fact that you think the thoughts are a problem. If you think the thoughts are a problem, they're going to be something that you try to get rid of or try to ignore. So they're things that you've judged as bad that you want to eliminate from your experience, which means that there's an underlying belief there. There's a belief that's something along the lines of, if I didn't have this thought, everything would be okay. I wouldn't have a problem. But that belief means you're not at peace with what is. The problem isn't the thought. It's the judgment of the thought. And it's the resistance that that judgment creates within you. If you remove the judgment, the thought can be there without any resistance. So you can still be at peace and you can even welcome the thought. You have a choice as to how you want to respond to self-doubt and negative thoughts. Those things aren't necessarily a sign that you should stop, that you shouldn't move forward, or that you're incapable. They're just a sign that you're human. And the thoughts in and of themselves are not the problem. The problem is the fact that you think they shouldn't be there. So it's the idea that they shouldn't be there. But when you do things outside your comfort zone and you go in knowing that your mind may react with fear and self-doubt and negative thoughts, if you know that that stuff's going to come up, you can choose to welcome it. You can thank it for protecting you and being concerned about you and keep moving forward anyway. Liz Gilbert actually talked about this in her book, Big Magic. She talked about how fear can always be there, but it shouldn't be in the driver's seat. And whenever she starts a new project, she writes a letter to fear to thank it and basically to tell it that she's going to keep going anyways. I send out reframes like this as well as other tools and practices every Sunday. If you want to get them in your inbox, go to purelightpodcast.com, click on the button that says Get Self-Love Strategies, and sign up with your name and email. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, may you be guided by your light.